Dileep Rao was born in Los Angeles of Indian descent. He made his debut in the horror film Drag Me to Hell and later played the role of Dr. Max Patel in the famous science fiction film Avatar, directed by James Cameron, which set numerous box office records all over the world. In 2010, Dileep Rao was one of the performers of Inception, a thriller by Christopher Nolan, which won 4 Oscars. These days he is in Lecce to receive the prize Rever d'Oro Cosimo Cordella on the occasion of the 17th edition of Giovani stilisti in passerella. It's a young fashion designers on the catwalk. We're here today to interview him for Bridge Puglia USA at Pino Cordella's fashion house, who sponsors this event. Dileep has also become a good friend of the Cordellas and in particular of Pino's son, Christian, who lives and works in Los Angeles. He has become very successful as a costume illustrator and has worked in many films, among which Iron Man and After Earth. So, good morning, Dileep.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. Welcome to Lecce.
Grazie, thank you.
Benvenuto. Is this your first time in Lecce?
No, this is my second time in Lecce.
Right.
I came before in the winter of 2010, just during Christmas time.
Good. And can you tell us something about your impressions after visiting this part of Italy?
I think it's, like many parts of Italy, it's rich in food and wine and culture, and it's got its own diverse Italianness. What I like about this area is just how unpretentious the people are, and how gracious they are, how kind they are. They're educated, they're interesting, they live their lives with a great degree of honesty, and I think that, in many of the more tourist-heavy parts of Italy, it's less like that, and at least when I've been there. And I enjoy many different parts of Italy. Of course, I've been to many places and I enjoy them all, but there's something very real about this town, and I really like that.
Good. And can you say anything in Italian?
I can say buongiorno, I can say o poco, parla italiano no. I can say a few things, not much though.
Good. Do you have many fans in Italy?
Yes, I mean, the true testimony to the power of Hollywood filmmaking and its distribution apparatus and the power of its entertainment is the degree that I can walk off a plane in Milan Malpensa and Fiumicino, Leonardo da Vinci in Rome, or Brindisi here, and on every flight I've been on, I've been recognized. In every crowd I've stood in, I've been, hello, how are you, I've been very graciously treated by the fans here. There seems to be a lot of, Christopher Nolan fans, James Cameron fans, Sam Raimi fans, horror fans, especially in Italy. And it's gratifying, it's great. It's really, as an actor, it's not what you don't work to be recognized or anything, you work for the endeavor itself. But it is really cool to see how many people have followed the work I've done,
That's nice. Now let's talk about your experience as an actor in Avatar. Mm-hmm. Did you really feel like being on another planet, or was there always a strong contact with what was going around you, namely the director, cameras, engineers, and so on?
Well, I think those questions are not mutually exclusive. They're the same thing. And yes, you feel like you're on another planet, not because, the effects are beautiful and all the design is extraordinary, and you do feel like you're in those places. But it's more the work schedule and the amount of intimacy you spend with the same people trying to do this very difficult thing. You have to remember that movie was a prototype. It was the very first film that ever been made that way. And James Cameron invented that along with the crew and the other experts he worked with, Vince Pace and the camera systems that Jim and he developed, especially Jim. All those innovations made it so that it was long hours, very long takes, very long periods working on the movie, but it was necessary to deliver the level of depth and immersion, right? So you're on set for 16, 17 hours a day sometimes when you're working, and you're working with the same people day after day after day. You get a lot of days off too, but that made it feel, and also it was in New Zealand, and most of us in the cast were Americans or Australian, in the case of Sam Worthington. So you felt like you were kind of somewhere else, right? And you live in a hotel, and it feels a little bit like you're on another planet,
Mm-hmm. Is there a particular episode that you remember during the shooting of Avatar, something strange or funny that happened and really struck you?
I will say that since it was my first movie, my very first day working on the set was when I had to do the lines off camera for a shot that would later be seamed together where I'd be shot on location and then we'd put together in the same shot later. So I wasn't in the shot that I was doing the voice for in the first time I was working. And I had to sit 300 feet away with a set of headphones on and a microphone and get the dialogue from the set fed into me. And I'd never done anything like this before. I'd done mostly theater. And this rig up, for whatever reason, it just didn't work in time where I could talk with him in sequence. So I just remember Jim being like, this is stupid, take all that off and come in here. And so I, worked my way down, all the way down to the workspace, and finally get inside this tiny little set which has been built for this specific shot. And Jim's on the floor with the camera. I didn't realize that at that time, of course, I just didn't know how to know this at the time, but he's the operator, and so most of the time. And he was operating the camera, squatted down on the floor with Sam at this console, and he said, just sit right here and do it like theater. And I sat down next to Jim Cameron my very first day, and I acted with Sam Worthington just like we were talking right now. And, it worked smart, bang on. It was great. And it was one of those moments where you're like, okay, this at the end of the day, it's still just a human thing,
Yeah. And how was your experience in Inception? How was it playing with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Well, he's one of the greatest actors I've ever worked with. He's so talented and he's so ingenious and makes you better and generous. He works hard to make the process better. He's a supreme professional. He's a very gracious, very kind man. That movie, and we have a saying in the United States which may not translate exactly, maybe I'll find a metaphor that works. It's like being on the 27 Yankees, which is like you have Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and everyone else around, and you're on that team, and you're kind of lucky to be there, and you're going to win a championship. I guess it's like being on the 2008 Italian national team or whatever. One of those teams that's just stocked so full of talent that you just can't believe you've made it, right? So I felt honored to be there. I had a job to do. I worked very hard. We all worked very hard. Chris Nolan's a very talented, incredibly visionary director. He's an intellectual. I think we have a sort of a similar mindset a little bit. I really respect him and his wife, the producer, Emma Thomas, and Wally Pfister, the DP. I mean, you looked around that set, and there was something like 17 Oscar nominations on that set. I mean, it was crazy, right? Many wins, and Wally won for that, and it's one of those experiences it was so intense and immersive and fun, but really a lot of hard work, and I really will take, all these experiences, but that stands amongst them right at the front as an experience I'll take home for the rest of my life. It's like going to war and coming back, it's very hard. I mean, not to minimize what war is like. War is very hard, but it's like going to a very long endeavor, and working very hard with a lot of really, really talented people and learning a lot.
Mm-hmm. And with regard to the directors, between James Cameron and Christopher Nolan, how was it working with them? Do you have any preferences?
No, I think to work with either of those directors is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, period. The fact that I got to work with both of them and Sam Raimi, to me, is just the ridiculous luck I've had in my life and the great embarrassment of riches. I don't have a preference. I'd work for either of them. If either of them wanted me to come to their house and change their toilet paper, I would. Those guys are incredibly talented. And they see, all three of them, actually, they see the movie they're making as they're making it. So that makes it so much easier to do our job because they're so clear. Nothing's harder than no one knows and we're trying to find it. In each of these cases, they're so clear of what they want that we just have to hit the thing or come up with a great idea, which then they use, Jim is such a technical wizard. I think he's one of those great kind of inventors. In another age, he might have been Da Vinci or someone. He has this kind of intellectual curiosity and a process curiosity, which has revolutionized how we make movies, from the very beginning of how he made Terminator all the way to Terminator 2, The Abyss, Titanic, and then Avatar. This is a man who's reinvented the form, and I think that's an incredible gift, an incredible sense of what he's doing. Chris Nolan, I think, he's a unique mind. He's a very intellectually gifted person, but I think he's also deeply interested in human beings and their moral compasses. He doesn't give you the automatic smile in his work, His work has a kind of moral complexity and a human complexity that I find he always has like a little something underneath of it, and that's a mind that if you were in contact with someone like that and working with them, you're in really good hands. So no, of course, no preferences.
And of all the films you've shot so far, which is the role you enjoyed most?
Not for the content per se, because they were all really challenging, hard roles. I enjoyed them all. I can't say I picked one. I'll just say I enjoyed working on Drag Me to Hell because the research was so vastly sort of my own, and I went to go meet with all these different, fortune tellers and soothsayers and people like that, and I enjoyed that process. And it's also very transformative for me. All of my roles have been somewhat transformative, but I got to grow a really big beard and grow my hair out and get a little chubby, and I got to have a little bit of a say in what was happening on the set for my set pieces, and I enjoyed that process immensely, as much as anything.
Good. And at the beginning of our interview, you said that you like Italy. You've been to Italy so many times now. Would you like to shoot a film in Italy?
I would love to shoot a film in Italy, especially in the legendary places like Cinecittà and places like that. But even in the countryside here or anywhere, I would love to. I enjoy Italy. I really feel like here especially, it's like a second home to me. I feel very connected to the people here. I would love to do something here. I think it'd be really fun. I've written a few things with something like that in mind, but it'll be somewhere down the line. I'm sure it will happen. I'm sure it will.
Right, so we have to get in touch with an Italian director. Is there anyone you would like to work with?
Yes, but they're all dead.
Okay, so we thank you very much and wish you all the best.
Prego.
Enjoy your stay in Lecce and Puglia and come back as soon as you can.
Well, as soon as I can. Thanks a lot.